I've made a couple of videos talking about the best used Apple ecosystems at various price points, and they've all had a common thread: the performance and value that you can get by saving a ton of money over buying the cheapest new Apple products. But something very strange is happening right now. The cheapest new Apple products are good. Today's video is brought to you by Clean My Mac 10, a powerful tool to keep your Mac running smoothly and free up memory and storage. You know how like a year or two after you buy your 128GB MacBook, you get confused because all you had was 3 pictures of your cat, but somehow you're using 96GB? Well, Clean My Mac 10 can help solve that by scanning for system junk, duplicate photos, mail attachments, cached iTunes album artwork, and more to free up gigabytes of space. You can also use Clean My Mac to remove old programs and sort through large files to determine which ones you don't need anymore, and then securely delete them with the file shredder function. With Clean My Mac, you don't have to sort through years and years of random folders and applications that you didn't know you installed. It makes it a lot easier to free up storage and optimize your Mac's performance. So these are the cheapest versions of all of Apple's current lines. We have the base model $1,000 MacBook Air, the cheapest iPad, the new iPhone SE, and the cheapest version of the Apple Watch Series 5. Now, I'd be willing to bet that a good number of you clicked on this video specifically to see the new iPhone SE, and for good reason. This is a very well-rounded and important product. However, Apple has a lot of really good stuff occupying the cheapest slots of their 4 main categories. So today, we're going to evaluate these as a whole. The 2020 MacBook Air represents a move in the right direction. It's by no means a major update, but what Apple did add here makes this a killer notebook and my favorite laptop of 2020 so far. The base storage doubled to 256GB, the keyboard is magic now, and you can equip it with quad-core processors. I didn't though. This is the base model with the dual-core i3, and it's pretty much exactly the same as the 2018 and 2019 MacBook Airs in terms of performance, but it's very solid nonetheless. Now, I've already unboxed the MacBook Air before. I just put it back in the box so I could get to unbox it for this video, but I have to say, this is a fantastic laptop. Once again, Apple has proven that even in their cheapest MacBook, they can actually make some really incredible stuff. Now, the MacBook Air might not do very well in demanding tasks. After all, the heatsink isn't even connected to the fan, but that's not really the point of the MacBook Air. It's not designed to be performance heavy, it's designed to be a lightweight, extraordinarily well-built Ultrabook to get stuff done, and that it does very, very well. iPhone SE is possibly the most important Apple product of the year. This Frankenphone combines the slightly dated but perfectly functional iPhone 8 design with the innards of the iPhone 11 series at a $400 price point. It's a Toyota Corolla with a Hemi V8, a $500 Chromebook with a Core i9. I'm weirdly excited to unbox the iPhone SE. I don't know exactly why. After all, it's pretty much the same design that we're used to on the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 7 and 6S and 6, pretty much. But despite that, this is possibly one of the most hotly anticipated iPhones that has come out in recent years, mainly because of its price point, if I'm being honest. Ooh, I like this. So I posted a poll on my community tab and on Twitter, and you guys told me that I should get the red iPhone, and I'm glad that I did. This looks really cool. Oh yeah, that's a good peel. How does Apple do it? How do they make a 3-year-old design still feel special? Can't help but notice we have some red documentation. I like that a lot. That's really cool. Oh, there's even a SIM tool in here. That's pretty nifty. We also get some standard AirPods as well as our lightning charger. Ah, there's that good old small, non-fast charging brick. You'll love to see it. Well, let's be real, no one cares about that. They care about the iPhone Small Edition. Now, if you ask me, this isn't a truly small phone. For that, you gotta turn to the good old-fashioned iPhone 4. Now that is a small phone. A lot of people still like the original iPhone SE, which is of course the iPhone 5 design, and of course the iPhone 4 design, which is an iconic look. But as much as I love the look of these things, this screen is tiny. The iPhone 5 screen is tiny. I could not use that. Kind of ironic to say that I couldn't use an iPhone 5. That was my first iPhone. But you know, times change. The 10.2-inch iPad came out back in 2019, and it's a really compelling value. We've got a smart connector as well as smart keyboard and Apple Pencil support, a good-sized 10.2-inch display, at a starting price of just $329. That's crazy for a brand new iPad. I'm actually pretty excited about this, and I'm going to be using it as my main iPad. I have a 5th gen iPad, which you may remember from the $1,000 Apple ecosystem, and I've enjoyed using this, but it's a little bit slow. And honestly, I kind of like the idea of the larger screen on this one, so let's unbox it. There we go. There we have it. You wouldn't think that this is a $300 tablet. It definitely feels... Wait a minute. These are different colors, right? I'm not crazy. Look how different these space grays are. As you would expect, we come with a lightning charger and exactly nothing else. Oh look, I actually was kind of expecting this to come with the small little baby charger, but this comes with a 12-watt power adapter, so that's good. Ooh. So it looks like this is actually a slightly larger footprint than the old base model iPad. You can see it's a little taller and wider. And I can't get over how different these space grays are. The only thing that I'm worried about with this iPad is that A10 chip. That's the same as an iPhone 7. So I'm not too sure how smooth this is gonna be, but for $329, obviously this is not targeting iPad Pro customers. That's a crazy, crazy low price for a brand new iPad. And here's the part where I think the cheapest ecosystem falls down a little bit. The cheapest Apple Watch Series 5. 40 millimeters, no cellular, silicone band. It just seems weird that this is the exact same price as the iPhone and $70 more than the iPad. I have to say, I am a fan of Apple's packaging for the Apple Watch. This is like one of the coolest unboxing experiences you'll ever have. We have this very long, very nondescript box, and then on the other side, these little tabs, which we pull, and the whole thing sort of unravels like a birthday present. I guess Apple knows that everyone gets these for their birthdays. Now, since the Series 4, they did increase the screen size on the base model Apple Watch, and I think that's good because the 38mm was always absolutely microscopic. I will admit, Apple really nails the presentation here. This looks really cool. It is actually kind of surprising how much smaller. You'd think 4mm wouldn't make a ton of difference, but I have the 44mm. This is definitely noticeably smaller. Now, while each of these devices is Apple's entry-level model, when you put them all together, they certainly are not cheap. In fact, what they are is $2,130. To give you some context, my last Apple ecosystem video had a budget of $1,000 for all 4 products. That's less than half of this setup. But there's one thing you cannot deny about this new setup. We're dealing with new devices. They don't have signs of wear, they don't have worn out batteries, they all have warranties, and none of them came iCloud locked. It's activation locked. Good. Something you can't forget to take into account is the way Apple is positioning these products. None of these have Pro in the name. This is a setup designed for the masses. The iPhone SE is the perfect example of this. No flashy features or crazy trends. It's got a single 12-megapixel camera, bezels the size of Texas, and a 4.7-inch display that shrugs in the face of screens that are fast approaching 7 inches these days. But despite the simplicity of the iPhone SE, it will probably outsell every major smartphone on the market simply because it offers an iPhone experience at $400. When you really get down to it, you're not buying an iPhone 8 with an A13 in it. You're buying 6 years of support. That's insane. Now, the SE is clearly targeted at people that are hanging on to their iPhone 6, 6S, and 7s. In fact, Apple was not very subtle about targeting these people. They have a tool that compares the SE to pretty much every phone they want you to replace with it. Subtle. The iPad 2 is as close to a commodity product as Apple can produce. It's got a larger screen than previous base model iPads. It's also got the Smart Connector and Apple Pencil support, so it has those going for it, but more than anything, it's just an iPad. And keep in mind, it does have limitations. It's got 32 gigabytes of storage and an A10 Fusion chip pulled directly from 2016's iPhone 7. But that's kind of the point. $329 is probably as cheap as a brand new iPad can be. And sure, in multitasking, the A10 is visibly older than an A12 or an A13, but for this little cash, you do get a lot of iPad. I'm definitely not going to be making one of those "can this iPad replace your MacBook" videos in this case, because it just can't. But it does make an excellent companion to the MacBook Air. Universal clipboard and sidecar make this experience really engaging. You could be very easily typing a document on the MacBook Air, holding the iPad next to you for notes, and just copy stuff directly onto the iPad. Everything just works well. But I think one device that stands apart is the Apple Watch. At $400, it's just too expensive to be paired with these devices. Don't get me wrong, I like Apple Watches. I personally have a Series 5 44mm, but it feels like an accessory, not a necessity. All Apple products feel like they're part of a larger story, but the Apple Watch is the epilogue. It's an addition, but not part of the plot. The MacBook Air, on the other hand, is crucial. As much as I like iOS and iPadOS, for me at least, macOS is the foundation upon which the Apple ecosystem is built. And the MacBook Air is one of the most solid MacBooks to date. For most people, it's the perfect combination of keyboard, operating system, battery life, build quality, and just enough performance to get through most tasks with absolutely nothing extra. This ecosystem as a whole is really, really good. There are some advantages to be had if you choose to go for a used setup. For example, instead of buying an iPhone SE, you could buy an iPhone X. You can find those for under $400 in decent condition pretty easily, and minus the fact that it's a slightly older processor with not as many years of support, you do get the newer design, the OLED displays, and Face ID. If I had to choose an alternative to the iPad, I would definitely go for the iPad Pro 10.5-inch. It has the same A10 Fusion chip, but comes with 64 gigabytes as standard, has a thinner design, slightly larger display, and ProMotion, which makes a huge difference. Plus, you can find those for about the same price as the entry-level iPad. As far as the MacBook, the Air is fantastic, but if you want a little bit more power, for $1,000 you could go for a mid-2015 dual graphics 15-inch MacBook Pro that is pretty much the best bang for your buck MacBook you can buy. So really it comes down to personal preference. In the past, there have been a ton of cases where it was obvious you should go for a used Apple product instead of a cheap new one. But that's not necessarily the case anymore. The cheapest brand new Apple products are, for the first time in a long time, fantastic. It is refreshing to see Apple paying attention to the low end of their lineups, and it makes sense from a business perspective. The iPhone SE is basically a gateway iPhone. If you can get people in from their old iPhones or their Androids with this cheap entry-level iPhone, and then later on wow them with some amazing feature in an ecosystem they're already used to, that's a really good move. Same thing goes for the 10.2-inch iPad. If you can get people's attention who have never really considered an iPad, wow them with how functional this is, all of a sudden that iPad Pro seems like a pretty compelling option now. So there you have it. These might be base models, but you're still gonna get a full-fat Apple ecosystem. As usual, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and please consider following me on Twitter at LukeMiani, and don't forget to join my subreddit, which is linked in the description below. And with that, I will see you all in the next video.